This is about you having control over your attention so you control who and what you are instead of your beliefs, fears, and doubts and old habits telling you who you are. Do you have control over your attention to live your life, or do your beliefs control your attention and you're a slave to old patterns? That's the tyranny and the slavery and the feeling trapped that we're breaking. Every day, every time it comes offering, you say no, you're breaking one of the chains holding you. You're breaking and building a new neural pathway of this is what I'm living, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to treat myself. Hi folks, Gary Van Warmerdam here, the Self-Mastery Community. I want to invite you to engage in a practice for the coming weeks, starting Ash Wednesday, February 17th, going till Easter Sunday, April 4th. To have a cleansing process, to have a time set aside to break the habits that often consume us, that control our attention, that are unhealthy, whether they be physically in what we eat, what we put our attention on, the kinds of information we digest, the emotions we generate and accept. So it can be a physical cleanse, it can be an emotional cleanse, it can be an idea cleanse. To no longer take in toxic physical food, emotions, stories. And maybe also to create less of those that we then feed ourselves. So there's two aspects to it. I did this process many times with my mentor Miguel over this Lent season, which was quite a shock to me because I grew up Catholic and Lent was a thing. There were things we were supposed to give up. But the approach I learned from Miguel was very different. And it was powerful for my process and changes and awakening and changing a lot of unhealthy food and mental and emotional habits. So not just with the self-mastery course, but I'm going to share some other things in processes that I did that were part of my transformation. These practices of cleanses and fasting it's in all sorts of traditions. There's a number of things that will change in your mind, in your nervous system, in the way you think and perceive things, and just the very practical benefits to your body. I think it's in these practices that I've changed my eating habits over the years. And the willpower, the resolve, and the access to that intent to change a habit has served me in many other areas to where, if I've given up sugar or I've gone without food for a day, I feel all those impulses. But if I've broken that, I'm like not believing a story, making a change in what my belief about money is a whole lot easier if I know I can make a change about what I believe about food and what I think I need, and find out it isn't true. Then I can change beliefs about relationships and other emotional reactions because I've practiced the skills of willpower and faith and intent to do that. So there's a lot of benefits. So with this, the basic level to start with that I suggest is, what do you want to clean out of your diet? What foods do you want to no longer put in? And you might not even notice that it's a problem until you get rid of it for 30, 40 days and you're feeling different. And some very common ones to get rid of, and typically these add inflammation and brain fog, Added sugar. Any added sugar. Some people get rid of the added sugar, but they add agave and honey. Well, that's a step. Getting rid of all of those, a bigger step. It changes your nervous system response and gives you control over those impulses instead of those impulses having control over you. Wheat adds a lot of inflammation for people. Caffeine agitates the nervous system and makes the mind go faster, makes it more difficult to calm down. Dairy tends to add a lot of inflammation. And then to a lesser degree, or for some people, more meat. And the idea is to move your diet for that period of about 45 days to cleaner, healthier, so you'll have more energy in your body and more clarity in your mind. There's some other habits that you can change that are more towards the information you take in. Maybe boundaries with people you want to see. For me, one of them, I want a big boundary with the news information that I ingest and take in for that period. I don't want my mind to go to those news stories and digest that information, which is opinionated and not the emotional quality that I want to live in. Lots of information. I might feel well informed. My ego might think I have lots of good ideas and opinions. But I don't want to live off opinions. And I don't want to be a servant to my mind that has the impulses that say I have to do that. So that's one of the things that I will be cleansing from my mind over these 40 plus days. And also, I'll be doing a liver cleanse for 9 days, so I can post some information about that because I want to clean out my digestive system and give it a rest. You know, we clean out our car, we brush our teeth, we clean our kitchen and our pots and pans. We do cleaning in all sorts of physical ways. This is an opportunity to do a once a year cleaning on your emotional ways, on your digestive system. Okay? So, out of your bloodstream. Take some time to do some cleaning. Your whole body feels better, is able to extract more energy out of the food you are eating. And every time I've always felt more energy from these things. So what you decide to do is up to you. I'm not giving you a specific plan. I may do that in the future, in future years. But this is a trial balloon, and I want you to create, there'll be some options. I want you to create something that is something that you want. You want to break your habit of coffee? Good. That's what it's going to be. You want to give up complaining, and I suggest you do that one. It's going to change the way your mind creates emotions. You want to give up judging your body? You want to give up feeling sorry for yourself? All ways to cleanse the emotions out of your system and build a new habit. Do you want to build the habit of exercising and stretching daily to make your body feel better? Yes. It's an act of love. It's an act of purification. But the other thing it's an act of strengthening and aligning you with your will and your intent. You know, having that access to what I'll call will and intent. We're powerful beings. We're magical beings. You know, we talk about people, you can do anything if you set your mind to it. That's not what makes a person make something happen. It's more about their will, their resolve, and their faith. Most everybody I talk to at some point has had some challenge in their life or something that they desired so much that they're like, I am doing that, or this has to change. and they became absolutely committed, this is going to be different. Whether it's a change they wanted to make, something they wanted to let go of, something about themselves, a goal they wanted to achieve, they had set this commitment so strong, it was with every cell in their body, and they were so committed, they were like, it's going to happen. I need for it to happen. Sometimes it's out of desperate pain. Sometimes it's out of inspiration. But when you do that, this force comes up from your body. For me, it's out of my gut. Lower than my gut. In what the martial artists call your dantian or your 1 point, it's your center. And it radiates a force. And for me, it radiates a force, let's say, from my will. And when I set it on my objective, nothing will make me doubt it'll happen. And the world starts to show up to show me the way. And I prioritize my life to make it happen. And I take actions to make it happen. And if something doesn't work, I don't care. I'll find another way. If that doesn't work, I don't care. I'll find another way. I'll be posting a podcast soon about a woman who's amazing will and focus to accomplish really amazing things, and this is what she does. But this is what's happened when I've made massive changes in my life. Not because it's my mind over anything, it's because my will and my resolve. And then what happens is that absolute certainty, it will happen. No doubt. And if anything shows up that there's an obstacle, it does not affect that absolute certainty. What I say is when you're in that state, you're acting in faith. 100% in your integrity with faith. And thy will be done in that state. If you think of something that you've done in your life, where you've been that committed, it's happened. The thing is, people very rarely feel that committed and determined. So they spend their time doing loops and circles about distraction things and nuance things and not really committing to the big changes. Because their attention's wrapped up. They're comfortably uncomfortable until they have had it and they're like, this has got to change, and then they set their intent on it. And then what happens? It changes. Doing a fasting process, doing a cleanse like this, you're not waiting for emergency to happen or an incredibly painful thing to happen or to get inspired by something external as an accident, which may or may not happen in your life. No, you're focusing on that and consciously activating your will to use it so that you can use it in other areas in your life because you have conscious connection with it. That's just one of the powerful elements of this. It makes your will strong. And it aligns you with awareness so you have access to it instead of it happening by chance. So, make a list of the habits you want to change. Think back to a time when you felt that certainty, you felt that resolve, you were determined, committed, and that was so strong, you felt it as a need. So pause. While you think of those two things, what is it you want to change as a habit? And remember a time where you felt that. Write those two things down while you pause this video. And then I'm going to take you through accessing that will for this exercise. So once you've written that down, what you want, and you remember a time when you were so focused and determined and committed that nothing was going to stop you. Close your eyes And I want you to feel that feeling of determination, commitment, faith, fearlessness, need. And here's one of the key words is need. Needing it to happen. Even if you don't need this to happen, you don't need to let go of wheat and coffee and sugar or whatever you're going to change or exercise every day. I want you to feel the need through your whole body to let it go for 45 days. And that nothing will get in your way. Sit with the certainty that this intent for the change you want to make in any aspect of your life will happen. And if you're not sure you have that inside of you, you don't feel that certainty, I want you to feel my certainty that you can do this. I've done this. Other people have done this. Thousands have done this. There was something in your life you were determined to do at one point, and you did it. And all it is taking that same intent, feel it come and desire it from your body, and put it in the direction of your goal and your commitment. And you may use the words something like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And yes, maybe you slip and maybe you don't, but that's not the practice. And you don't need to hedge. What you're practicing is the commitment. If you fail or succeed, we don't care. It's practicing, aligning that energy, that desire and will in your body, and committing. It doesn't matter if you make it or not. You're practicing exercising the muscle. What happens when you do that? You create this will, this energy, kind of a dream of who you are, what you're doing, and all your old habits of who you used to be are over here. But you're not aligned with them. You're not in that personality of following the habits. You're creating the new version of who you are and how you're going to live. At least for about 45 days. And this old version may come knocking at the door and say, oh, Gary, hey, watch this news clip. Oh, Gary, have this pizza. But that's not my voice. That's not my plan. That's not how I live. And I don't have to believe that thought. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I have no fear, no doubt. It might offer temptation. But I don't need to believe it. Doesn't mean there won't be impulses, there won't be temptation. But what will happen over the 40 days is, oh, this might feel really strange, and it will change. Typically, it will be feeling very strong for a few days, and then the nervous system, the brain, the neural pathways that usually fire with those foods will come knocking and go, we need that, we want that, and tell you this isn't important, you don't need it, oh, forget it, why bother, just have a little bit. It wants to pill you in its old habit. Come back to this exercise, refocus your desire and will. You can tell temptation, I see you, no thank you. This is about you having control over your attention so you control who and what you are instead of your beliefs, fears, and doubts and old habits telling you who you are. Do you have control over your attention to live your life, or do your beliefs control your attention and you're a slave to old patterns? That's the tyranny and the slavery and the feeling trapped that we're breaking. Every day. Every time it comes offering, you say no. you're breaking one of the chains holding you. You're breaking and building a new neural pathway of, this is what I'm living, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to treat myself. And this is all going to seem a little bit odd, a little bit ruthless and drill instructor, rigid, but you can also have a lot of fun with it. Very much my course and what I want people to do and how I want to live is enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. My God, be happy. Have more love and happiness in your life. Don't limit it. Enjoy everything. Except there's a problem with that, is we don't enjoy everything. We have learned to live comfortably and say, oh, I'll enjoy everything as long as it's these things. Satisfying the impulses, getting the Facebook's likes, looking at the news, feeling like we know something. And we gravitate more and more to those things that give us the dopamine rush. And we're like, and we feel worse and worse about the things that maybe are really good for us, or that don't fill our mind with opinion stories. We're feeding the impulses. And if we try not to feed the impulses, we feel uncomfortable. And so a lot of people get to enjoy their life a lot because they stay in the comfort of their habits and routines that are comfortable. But what happens is they're also afraid and uncomfortable and start to complain and problems and feel unhappy if anything in their life is different, if there's things that aren't in that box. That's not really being free to be happy. You're confined to a limited space and a limited set of patterns, and there your mind says, okay, stay in your lane, stay in your box, you can be happy. But when you get out of your lane, your mind becomes uncomfortable. And your mind says, no, we don't like this. It has reactions. It has other people need to be this way with us. We need to be this way. We can't do that. Your mind has reactions if you identify. You have to believe all your thoughts and say, oh, my happiness only comes from these things. It's a limited happiness with a lot of requirements. Living in a box of beliefs. But when you get out of your lane and you do something new, like you break the habit, like you don't have your coffee and you don't have your sugar in your coffee, or you give up, oh, I need to have my chocolate. No. Watch that part of your mind react. That part of your mind's uncomfortable. And when you break that, that pops, then you have a lot more room to be happy doing everything. Then you're free to be happy and enjoy when the customer service person is doing terrible service. You're waiting in line even though in your hurry. You can be happy because you don't have to do what the mind says needs to be done. You're like, that's just a story. Because you're aligned with your intent, your resolve to live in the emotions you want to live, whether you have food at this meal or not. And when you have resolve to be happy and grateful, even when you don't have food that day or for a few hours, or the food that you used to have, it's easier to be happy at everything. So the process is about the freedom from your limiting beliefs that control, that push the buttons of these stories, that push the emotions, and you get to be free of all of it. But to do so, you have to challenge it. You have to be willing to break the habit of your old self and your old habits. So that's the game afoot. Decide what habits you want to change. Either things that don't serve you, you want to let go of and not do. Doesn't serve your body, doesn't serve your emotions, doesn't serve the ideas in your mind. Or you want to build a habit of something that's loving and kind and nurturing to yourself, either in new foods and new ideas or new practices. And you want to incorporate that and make that a new routine. 40 days is a great time period to break a habit and to create a new one. It's enough time to build a whole new set of neural pathways. 40 days is about Lent, is about the period of time when Christ went into the desert and he challenged himself. He challenged himself to let go of the dream of lies, ego, what have you. He went in as the man, he came out as the Christ because he transcended not just his body's desires and mind desires, emotional desires, ego desires. Am I inviting you to go 40 days without water and food? No. But build your will, strengthen the muscle, and make your body and energy and emotions and mind more free and healthier. That's what I'm inviting you to do for your own happiness and the happiness of those around you.